Well, most of you know who I am and what I do, but for those of you that are new, and there's more and more every day, and we're very, very appreciative. We salute you and welcome you. I'm Jeffrey Daugherty, the Christian Whistleblower. This is the Christian Whistleblower channel, where we invite you to learn to be your own guru, guide your own spirit, and master your own ascension. In short, we encourage you to unindoctrinate yourself. We come to you from an undisclosed location deep in the heartland of America, wall to wall, treetop tall, locked and loaded, 10 feet tall, and bulletproof, coast to coast and border to border, from the heartland to your heart. That's what we are all about, ladies and gentlemen. Ashley's in the bathroom. I don't think I can fit it all in while you're in the bathroom. But hey, I wish I had a cigar because, I used to say a lot of times I love it when a plan comes together. And I do love it when a plan comes together, even when we've got people from Israel and from Beirut here. Nice to have you here. We have a plan coming together, and it's great when a plan comes together, even when it's not your plan that comes together. But when a plan that you're a part of comes together, that is exciting stuff. And as I sit here today, plans are coming together, ladies and gentlemen, and things are coming together, and it's all beginning to make sense. The attacks are beginning to make sense. The hatred is beginning to make sense. The fact that people want to attack and not use my name is beginning to make sense. It's all coming together, folks. And the Matrix, the reptilians, the aliens, religion, and the fall of religion, it all comes back to the moon. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. The moon in the sky. It all comes back to the moon. And we're going to talk about that today, how this all comes back to the moon, how it's all related to the moon. And we're super excited to be able to bring you this information. And I've been in contact with some folks that are in contact with some Pleiadian individuals that they say are here in Earth orbit, or they're out there around the Earth, and they're talking to people. They decided that they don't want to do mass disclosure because we're not ready for it. So these folks that are out there in the Pleiadian ship contacting the folks that are here on Earth that we're going to be in contact with. And it's going to be a very interesting discussion, whether you think the Pleiadians are real or they're not real, whether you think the Pleiadians are here or they're not here, whether you think it's a distraction, whether you think it's a deception, whether you think that they're definitely here. Hello, Chase. It's going to be a fascinating discussion. I think it's probably going to be more than one discussion. And I've got a fairly good sense for bullshit, and a fairly, I don't go down many roads that are questionable like that, but I've got a very good blink of these individuals, and I think it's going to be very, very interesting to have discussions with them. And she dropped, Sapphire Al says they're real, that they've met them, but they dropped some information on me that makes a very good, it just seems to bring a lot of things together, and it brings a lot of things together why I would be becoming involved in this, and why we'd be being brought together, and why, because it seems like the messages that I'm preaching and the messages that they're preaching do seem to dovetail and have some synchronicity. And you're like, how in the world can that be? Well, we're going to talk to these people very soon. We're just trying to work out the dates right now. And they said that, and this is one thing that really, really caught my eye, and the Pleiades are mentioned in the Bible, as Carly P says, that caught my ear, because they said that the reason why we are in 3D here, ladies and gentlemen, is because the Pleiadians were involved in a war, and they were basically trying to defeat and exterminate a reptilian race, a malevolent reptilian race, and they had them cornered here on Earth. And we're going to get into all this in very great detail in the coming weeks. They had them cornered here on Earth, and yet we're not able to eradicate them. So what they did was put up a 3D matrix shield that would trap the reptilians here on this planet. So for lack of a better explanation, the reptilians are quarantined here on planet Earth under this 3D control matrix, ladies and gentlemen. They are quarantined here under the 3D matrix. And it gets more interesting because the 3D matrix emanates from the moon. That really caught my eyes. But what really caught my eyes is that this happened, this moon matrix, whether they towed the moon here at this time or whether the moon was already here and they just began to use it to broadcast this matrix, this frequency that traps the reptilians here. It happened about 12,500 years ago, or around 10,000 BC-ish. So why did that catch my attention so greatly? Why did that spark in my mind? Because we need to understand some things that happened about 10,000 years ago, ladies and gentlemen. And I'm a person, I have 2 years of archaeology, or not archaeology. I always say archaeology, but I mean the other discipline that's about people and cultures. And I can't even think about it. I can't even think of it right now. I'm so excited. It's not archaeology. It's anthropology. So I have 2 years of I have 2 years of university level anthropology, and I have something here that I want to show you, but I forgot to blow it up so it can be big, and you can see it on the screen. So I'm going to blow it up real quickly. So give me just 1 second. I do apologize for doing this, but I think it's something that's very important that you see, and I want to make sure that it's large enough for you to be able to see it. And we're going to connect, believe it or not, all of these things that I've just mentioned. We're going to connect those all together, and we're going to connect them all together and put a time frame on them that amazingly, miraculously, and it's really not amazing and miraculous if you understand, it all dovetails together because it's all meant to dovetail together. It's a plan, ladies and gentlemen, that is coming together, and it's pretty amazing and it's pretty exciting that this plan is coming together, and that's why I'm really excited to show it to you. And I've got it made the right size, so now just let me pull it out of the place I just put it so we can show it to you, ladies and gentlemen. And I think you're going to be really excited by this, and it's going to cause a lot of bells to go off in your mind because it's pretty amazing information. So the Pleiadians claim that about 12,500 years ago, they came and had to quarantine the reptilians here because they could not eradicate them. So they've been quarantined for this time. And I want you to understand, ladies and gentlemen, that Zoroastrianism, or Zoroaster, was the first monotheistic religion that ever hit in humanity. The first monotheistic religion, the first one God religion, came from the prophet Zoroaster. He's traditionally dated to the 6th century BCE, but more modern historians have now pegged Zoroaster to the 10th century BCE, the 10th century before Christ, 10,000 years before Christ. We're 2,000 years after Christ. Do the math, ladies and gentlemen. 10 plus 2. I know I'm a Bible college graduate, not a math major, but 10 plus 2, as far as I know, equals 12. So what you're telling me is that about 12,000 years ago, ladies and gentlemen, 12,000, 12,500, these things aren't exact when you're talking about ancient history. About 12,000 years ago, 12,500 years ago, monotheistic religion reared its head for the first time on planet Earth. And I have been asking myself for 38 years, that's how long I've been doing this now. I've been doing this for 38 years, and about 34 of those years, I've been doing it full time. Do you understand what that means? Oh, Jeff, you're patting yourself on the back. Well, it's a sorry dog that won't wag its own tail every now and then. But what this means, folks, is that for, let's just say 30 years, that's light, but for 30 years, I've been almost full time studying the biblical text, and for the last 20 years, almost 20, studying esoteric spirituality across the spectrum. Do you understand what that means? I don't know how many people there are with 38 years of study, Bible college degree, 20 years in ministry, 20 years in this. I'm the only one in the world that does what I do because I don't have a team. My give a damn busted a long time ago. I have no confirmation bias. I don't look at information to prove anything. I look at information to decipher and deliver to you what information says. And all I know is that 12,500 years ago-ish, monotheistic religion suddenly cropped up on planet Earth without any reason why, without any anthropological antecedents. In other words, no reason for the damn thing to happen. It just happened. Why did monotheistic religion suddenly spring on Earth 12,500 years ago? I've always wondered that. I've always asked that. And now I received this information that possibly, potentially, 12,500 years ago, at the same time that monotheism sprang up on Earth, the reptilian race. Oh, and Tracy, mono moon, a little bit of juggling of the letters. One, at the same time this reptilian race was quarantined on Earth, monotheism just happened to spring up at the same time. But wait, there's more, ladies and gentlemen. Well, Zoroastrianism, Jeff, we don't know what Zoroastrianism is. We don't care what Zoroastrianism is. We just know about the Zorro with the mask, and when he had that movie with Salma Hayek and she was really hot, but that's all we know about it. Well, I'm fixing to educate you just a little bit about Zoroastrianism and its implications. Ladies and gentlemen, Zoroastrianism, or Mazdayazna, say that 5 times fast, is the world's oldest, one of the world's oldest continuous religions and the oldest monotheistic religion. It's a dualistic religion. Black and white, heaven and hell, right, wrong, up, down, dualistic, good and evil, eschatology. Wait a second. You're telling me Zoroastrianism, Mazdayaznaism kind of invented this dualistic good and evil thought process that, by the way, the world is now encapsulated with and captured with. And they thought up this idea of eschatology. That's interesting. First ones to come up with monotheism and monism. First ones to come up with the idea of messianism. First ones to come up with the idea of judgment after death, heaven, hell, free will. They've influenced other religions and philosophical systems, Judaism, Gnosticism, Christianity, Islam. Zoroaster is the father of the Abrahamic religions, ladies and gentlemen, and Zoroastrianism is the birthplace of the good and evil mentality. It's a birthplace of eschatology. It's a birthplace of monotheism. It's the birthplace of an idea of a Messiah, the birthplace of heaven, hell, the birthplace of not only Judaism, not only Christianity, but Islam as well. Ladies and gentlemen, Zoroastrianism is the birthplace of Abrahamic religions, and we can very well say that Abrahamic religions were born 12,500 years ago at the very same time, ladies and gentlemen. And then some idiot says, sorry, monotheism begins with Abraham. Abraham wasn't even thought of by this time. Did I say idiot? I probably didn't mean idiot, but come on, man. Don't try this at home. Don't give me your Kool-Aid breath. You got to learn to think. You see, that's confirmation bias, and I shouldn't have said it, and I shouldn't have looked, but I just showed you and proved to you historically, way before Abraham was around, there was monotheism. So why would you say something like that in the chat room, knowing that I'm going to zing you? But anyway, ladies and gentlemen, I'm sure it's just a coincidence that the Abrahamic religion started at the same time that the Pleiadians say they quarantined the reptilians here on this earth. But what if I could show you that the God of Abrahamic religion is portrayed in his own book as a reptile? What if I could do that? Then it becomes much more interesting, doesn't it, ladies and gentlemen? Let's look at Jeremiah 4:23. I've shown you this verse 100 times, probably 1,000 times, but it's talking about, well, let's just let you just see what it's talking about. It's talking about this, ladies and gentlemen. I beheld the earth, and lo, it was without form and void, and the heavens had no light. You know when that was. That was between Genesis 1:1 and 1:2, the only place in the biblical text where the earth is without form and void and there's no light. Jeremiah says some amazing things here. The mountains trembled, hills moved lightly. There was no man. Well, why would that be worth mentioning if there hadn't been men yet? Well, there already were men, and they were destroyed between Genesis 1:1 and 1:2. Same thing with birds. Same thing with the fruitful place. The earth was made perfectly and paradisically, as Isaiah said. It was not created without form and void, and yet here it is without form and void. And Jeremiah says, where's the men? Where's the birds? Where's the fruitful place? Not only was there men, there were cities. How many men do you got to have more than one city? The answer is a bunch. But all of these cities filled with men and all of these birds and all this fruitful place was broken down at the presence of the Lord and by his fierce anger. Who's the Lord? Well, let's just check and see who the Lord is. We're going to go straight into verse 26. We're going to get it from the Hebrew. Who's the Lord? The Lord is, ladies and gentlemen, Yahweh, the proper name of the God of Israel. So all of you little yippers and yappers that say Jeff pulls it out of context and Jeff doesn't tell the truth and Jeff lies, open your beady little eyes. Yahweh, cousin. Yahweh is the one that did what? Tore down, pulled down, broke down, destroyed, demolished, razed, smashed. What did he smash? He smashed all the cities that had men in them, killed all the birds, wrecked all of the fertile fields. What does a fertile field mean? Oh, a plantation, garden, land growth. Woo, there was a bunch of stuff there. In Genesis 1:2, before that, there was stuff there. So anyway, it was destroyed by the Lord. Who's the Lord? Yahweh, God of Israel, God of the Bible, the one that you worship and sing songs about and pay tithes to. Okay, so he destroyed everything, and I'm about to prove to you that he was a reptilian entity, or at least presented as one. His fierce, what's fierce mean? Burning. Interesting. Burning, not just anger, but burning anger. Burning angry. Fury, wrath, burning anger. Do you realize that these words mean as much? This is how many times it's used in the scripture. It's used as burning 17 times. The word is used burning. Another 2 times it's used burning anger. So over half the time, or just about half the time this word is used in the text, it's called burning or burning anger. I'm sorry if I'm boring some of you with itching ears that would rather hear little nice stories and little platitudes, but this is what you call study, research. I know you're not used to it, so I'll give you a minute to let your tummy settle. Thank you, Mr. B. I appreciate you very much. I'll let your tummy settle. Burning, fiery fierceness, anger. Well, that doesn't prove that he's a reptile. No, but how about this one? Burning, fiery fierceness, anger, through his nostrils, through his nose, through his face. Fiery, burning anger through his nostrils, through his nose, through his face. Fiery, burning anger through his nostrils, through his nose, through his face. Blowing anger through his nostrils, through his nose, through his face. What's the original word for it? Angry. So he's blowing fiery, burning anger through his nose that destroys shit. What does that sound like to you? A dragon? Is a dragon a reptile? Yes or no? Wow, how about that? Is a dragon a reptile? Yes or no? Somebody put Sam in timeout till he can behave like an adult. Wow, how about that, ladies and gentlemen? How about that? I'll let your tummy settle for a minute. But wait, there's more. And I know that words can be a little hard for people like Sam to handle. So I got a picture for you. Unfortunately, you can't color it. I guess you could. You could print this out and color it. But here's a picture for you. Is the God of the Bible, just like Jeremiah said, really a reptile? I don't know, but what do these guys think? Do they think he was a reptile? Do they think he was a reptile? Look at Jesus up there. Does that look like a reptile to you? That's a question. Does that look like a reptile to you? Looks like a reptile to me. I got another one for you. Oh, I don't believe that's a reptile. It's just an optical illusion. What about that one? That's the building the other thing's sitting in. Does that look like a reptile to you? Eyes, fangs, tongue coming out, scales. Does that look like a reptile to you? I don't know, Jeff. And what's on all of their churches? What's on all of their churches, ladies and gentlemen? What do they have covering their churches? Just bringing this up for conversation's sake. Can I do this without wrecking everything? I'll do this. What do they have on their churches, ladies and gentlemen? They have these cute little guys, gargoyles, all over their churches. Why do these gargoyles all look reptilian? You can Google gargoyles. Why do they all look reptilian, ladies and gentlemen? Huh? Why do they all look reptilian? It's almost as if they wish they had reptilian spirits watching over them. And many have theorized that for every one of these stone gargoyles, there's an actual spiritual entity there with it. Do I really have to go any farther to prove to anybody that has any objectivity that Christianity is a religion of the reptile? And if Christianity is a religion of the reptile, which is undeniable to anybody with any objectivity, and if Christianity just happened to start 12,500-ish years ago, and the Pleiadians tell us they just happened to confine the reptiles to this earth about 12,500 years ago, am I the only one that says, maybe there's a connection? All you New Age, love and light, all you truther people love to say, there's no coincidences, no sir, until a coincidence slaps you upside your sanctimonious little faces, and then you can't, oh no, it's just a coincidence, he's making stuff up. 12,500 years ago, the Pleiadians claim that they quarantined the reptilians to this planet. And coincidentally, a reptilian-based fear and guilt control religion just happened to spring up at the same time. Oh, yeah. Did I mention it's coming from the moon? Who knows what Yahweh originally was? A moon god. That's just a coincidence. Who knows what type of a calendar the Jews keep? Solar or lunar calendar. That's just a coincidence. So Judeo-Christianity's God is shown as a reptile. They got reptiles guarding all of their places. The reptile is ubiquitous in their literature, but that's just a coincidence. And the fact that the moon is what their god used to be, a moon god, and their very calendar is solar, or excuse me, it's lunar. Their calendar is lunar. The Jews have a lunar calendar, and by the way, so do the Arabs, I believe, the Islamists. And guess what? Allah is also known as a lunar god. You can't make this stuff up, folks. All of the feasts of the Jews are set to the moon, as Jama just reminded me. So why would they be reptilian, and why would they be moon focused? Because the Pleiadians locked them in here 12,500 years ago when their religion started? Nah. Here's a good joke. Cautious observer. The moon god, the original asshole, pun intended. You know what a moon is? You know, like where you spread your cheeks? Yeah. That's very, very funny. That's very, very funny. Nobody put Sam in timeout, so I'll do it. Behave or you will be banned from the channel. How about that? But guess what, guys? There's more. Yep, there's more. Let's talk about the moon. And let's talk specifically the moon in Christianity. And one other thing that the Pleiadians have told the people that have told me is that the moon matrix is breaking down. The moon matrix is weakening. The moon matrix, I know it's only 5 minutes at a time. The moon matrix is breaking down. Mechanically, it's breaking down. It's being weakened. Lunatic. There you go. That's why all of these Christians are going crazy. That's why all of these Christians and the Christian lights, those that will not say they're Christians but are, that's why they're going crazy. That's why they're losing their minds, because their world is crumbling right before their eyes. The reptilian, blood-based fear and guilt control matrix that is Christianity, Islam, and Judaism is breaking down. And they're scared to death. Number one, they raise all this Cain because they're scared to death. And number two, they do it because they're trying to amp up the negative energy that they're not getting anymore from their moon matrix. And another reason that just hit me, the reason why people will criticize me but not say my name is because there's power in a name. And they can't say my name because they would evoke and invoke the power that my name carries. Jeff, are you saying your name carries power? Yes, I am. And your name carries power too. All of our names carry power. That's why my staunchest critics are afraid to say my name, because if they say my name, it evokes in their memories what it means, in their emotions what it means. It scares them. The name of Jeffrey Daugherty has come to mean some things in regards to the subjects we're talking about: the fall of the matrix, the collapse of the fear and guilt control matrix, the collapse of Christianity. So they can't say my name because it hurts them. It scares them to say it. They evoke power and they also invoke power. You can't say my name without bringing that power in. And that power has efficacy to break into bondage and to destroy stronghold and to pull down. That's why they can't say my name. Say my name, say my name. But they won't. Tracy says the Pleiadians aren't our friends. Well, they're giving us a lot of good information. That's what I'm going to say for now. But watch this. Let's talk about the moon for a minute. We've talked about 12,500 years ago. We've talked about reptilians. We've talked about fear and guilt control matrix. We've talked about Islam, Judaism, Christianity, and how they rose at the same time that the Pleiadians claim they put this energetic matrix to trap the reptilians here. I'm sure that's all a coincidence. But now they're saying the moon is failing. And isn't it interesting how the moon failing is tied so deeply? And where did my stuff go? The moon failing is tied to, there it is. The moon failing is tied to Christianity's demise. What? Yeah. The moon failing is tied by the Bible to Christianity's demise. Are you ready for this? Watch this. We're talking about the moon failing and Christians freaking out. You ready for this? We're going to go old school. We're going to go all the way back to Joel. Do you think Joel is mad that WWJD is thought of as meaning what would Jesus do instead of what would Joel do? Do you think James is upset? It's not what would James do. Nobody says what would John do. Nobody says what would Joel do. It's all what would Jesus do. You think they get a little pissed about that? Anyway, I wonder. But watch this. When things get really bad and things are really, really dark and it's all about to go to hell, what happens? The moon, what does it do? The moon grows dark. It goes dark. What happens to a power plant when the power goes out? It goes dark. What happens to a bulb when it burns out? It goes dark. Interesting. The moon is going to go dark on the terrible and dreadful day that they're all worried about. And look, let's look at, and here's another way to study the Bible. Here's the verse, right? And then underneath it are cross references. No, that doesn't mean on the cross where I first saw the light. Yeah, right, great. No, that means other verses that reference to that verse, dummies. Tribulation. The moon won't give its light. Can we look at that for a minute? Let's look at that verse. The moon won't give its light. What does that mean? The moon will not give. The moon doesn't give. What does it not give? It doesn't give its light. It doesn't give its brightness. The moon is shut off, just like Joel said. The moon gets shut off, ladies and gentlemen. The moon gets shut off. How about that? The moon won't give its light again. The moon becomes blood red. Whoa, what does that mean? The moon becomes blood red. The moon becomes blood red. Well, that's a color, Jeff. That has anything to do with it. Oh, really? It means to turn blood red, but keep going, keep going. It means to hemorrhage. What happens when it hemorrhages? It breaks down. It explodes. It blows up. It's called Bible study. The moon's going to hemorrhage. The moon's not going to give its light. The moon's going to be broke. The moon's going to be broke. And because it's breaking, they're pulling out their final false flag. Fake, here comes Jesus, fake Armageddon, and they've got you convinced Armageddon means something bad. Armageddon means the unveiling. The unveiling that they're full of shit, and the unveiling of the beautiful new world that's going to follow the exit of these assholes. It doesn't get any easier. It doesn't get any plainer. It's simple to understand. And whether or not the Pleiadians are our friends is not the issue here. Anybody that's the enemy of my enemy can be my friend. And if the Pleiadians weren't the enemy of the enemy that started this fear and guilt control matrix, then who are they? They're at least the enemy of our enemy. They're at least the enemy of our enemy. Let's wrap it up. What do you say? 12,500 years ago, the Pleiadians claimed they quarantined a reptilian race to this planet by a 3D matrix that is beamed from the moon. At the same time, a religion based on a reptile that is a fear and guilt control religion sprung up that had as their first deity a moon god whose major religions have lunar calendars and whose main advocates prominently display reptilian imagery, and they all write with woe and gloom and doom and fright of the moon power being shut off. You'd think they'd be glad that the moon matrix. What? Think of that. And I didn't think of this until just now. Let's think about this in conclusion. If you had been captured for 12,500 years by a matrix, wouldn't you be happy that it was breaking down? Wouldn't you be happy that it was about to be destroyed? Wouldn't you be happy that it was about to be destroyed? Why aren't they happy? I think they're not happy because the rest of us have been affected by this matrix. The rest of the beings on this planet have been affected by this matrix. We've been dumbed down by it. We've been stupefied by it. And they know that as this thing weakens, so is their hold on the minds and hearts of men and women. Churches are emptying out. Christianity's failing. And they know that if they can't keep things together with the fear and guilt control matrix in place, there's no way they can keep things together without the fear and guilt control matrix in place. And just like they're screaming, crying, whining, scared followers and preachers, they know that the gig's up, and they're about to be brought down. We won't follow this anymore. We won't fall for it anymore. They're going to be broke. They're going to be busted. They're going to be disgusted. So they'd rather be trapped in a fear and guilt control matrix that allows them to be in charge than to be free in a world that doesn't allow them to be in charge. And that is the mindset of the people involved in Judaism, Christianity, and Islam in a microcosm. These people would rather serve a bloodthirsty, killing God. They'd rather be possessed and covered by his blood and the blood of martyrs. They'd rather, what did Milton say? Better to be a servant in hell, or better to be a master in hell than a servant in heaven. That, ladies and gentlemen, is the essence of all the Abrahamic religions. They'd rather be masters in a domain they control than live in a domain where we're all divine, sovereign, and free, living in peace that passes all understanding, life and life more abundantly. They prefer the matrix because they get to be in charge. They don't want to play nice. They don't want to love. They want to control. They want to dominate. And their fear and their guilt and their control is coming to an end. TikTok, time's running out. You've been outed. You've been exposed. It's over. It's over. I'm Jeffrey Daugherty, the Christian Whistleblower, and you won't hear this anywhere else. Ladies and gentlemen, how about that? And tonight we've got Joseph Atwill to talk about his second book, Shakespeare's Secret Messiah. And it was Joseph Atwill who wrote the book, Caesar's Messiah, which proved that there was no historical Jesus. Jesus is made up by Rome, and it's the truth. It's the book that ultimately freed me from the Jesus virus, and hopefully it'll free you, because until you are free, you are locked into this fear and guilt control matrix. Even when it dies, it extends into the fourth and fifth dimension if you still believe it. Any belief in this matrix will cause you to keep coming back to this earth in a recycle reincarnation loop. It's just that simple. Let me look through and see if there's questions. Why did Jesus say the Jews are of their father who's a liar and a murderer from the beginning? Well, I just showed you in Genesis, between Genesis and 1:2, Yahweh was a murderer from the beginning and a liar. He said, I'm the only God there is. So that's why the message of the anointing reveals that the God of the Bible was a liar and a murderer from the very beginning. It's just that simple. It's just that easy. Are there other questions in here? I'm looking for questions, ladies and gentlemen. While I'm looking for questions, think about visiting jeffreydaugherty.com. Look at our great sponsors, Verve CBD oil, Stem Light. If you need stem cell help, click on the logo. If you're a doctor that wants to provide stem cells from the same company that works with the National Football League Alumni Association, go to southernstem.com and use, in both cases, folks, the code word HEAL for great discounts. 20%. That's a lot of money. Also, we have Focus Life Force Energy, ladies and gentlemen, put you in a more nurturing environment. And don't forget the Mistag bracelets and the great rods of truth. All this great stuff. And again, I smell of, you ever just smell yourself and almost want to like hug yourself? I understand how rocky you feel sometimes. I smell myself and I kind of want to grab my own butt because I smell really, really good, like cedar wood and charcoal. That's because I washed today in the shower, and I did take a few extra minutes washing. It was so nice and lathery with the the soap from my website, the Hero Soap. You can get that at a discount as well. Let's see, ladies and gentlemen. Any more questions? Any more questions? I don't see a lot of questions. That means that we must have done a pretty good job. Can we know who put the moon there? That's a big question, TT. I don't know if the Pleiadians say they put it there, but we'll ask them. Or did they just take advantage of it being in that place? But we do have writings from ancient peoples about when the moon wasn't there. Very, very interesting. And the people that write of the moon not being there, guess what? They weren't monotheists. So they were writing before the moon came in and brought us these trapped reptilians who started these religions. Allah is a moon god. Yes, he is. Let's see. What else we got? Does the moon send frequencies to Earth? Yes, most people believe it does. Is the moon the watcher? Michelle, you're still going back to the fraudulent, flawed play. What did I say the Book of Enoch is? It's a forgery. Why do you try to find justification for things that are in a forgery? Just forget about them because they're not true. Just forget about them. They're not true. What else we got here? Let's see. Looking for some questions, ladies and gentlemen. And I appreciate if you have to go, I understand, but I've traveled on for 45 minutes. I want to see if there's any questions I can answer. It seems like I owe you that much. Have I missed much? Yeah, you missed a lot. You missed a lot, ladies and gentlemen. The moon is very close. Is the moon closer to us than we think? Oh, boy. I think it might be. That's all I'm saying about that. I think it might be. I really do think it might be. Let's see. Did we get to the moon? If we did go to the moon, it surely wasn't the way they said we went to the moon. And I begin to wonder, like Buzz Aldrin, I feel like a little girl with Buzz Aldrin telling me, we never went to the moon, sweetheart. I tell you what, is the moon a Death Star? Many people have said that. Are you sure about the Pleiadians? I'm not even sure about me, but it's very interesting. And if the enemy of my enemy is my friend, and they are demonstrably the enemy of these reptilians that have had us enslaved for 12,500 years, I'm open to talking. I am open to talking. Aren't the reptiles friends? Ashley, I think that some of the reptiles are friendly towards us, but not these jokers that started this fear and guilt control matrix. And Ashley, some of the reptiles might actually like us. And a lot of the other reptiles like us because we taste like adrenochrome. We're finger licking good. That's why they like us. Most of them. But I'm sure that there are some benevolent reptiles. I'm sure there are. Let's see. How do we know the good reptiles from the bad ones? The bad ones will bite you in the ass. The bad ones. How do you know good people from bad people? How do you know good people from bad people? Was Jesus a pedo from the moon? Jesus didn't exist. Jesus was an invention of Rome to justify the actions of the religion of Rome, both Roman Catholicism and Roman Protestantism. Jesus is created by Rome so they can have a priest who's been touched with all the feelings of their infirmities, who hasn't always been tempted as they are, and because of it, they can be removed in their minds of the sin. Pedophilia is not from a few bad priests or a few bad preachers. Pedophilia is endemic, systematic. Pedophilia is a sacrament of Roman Catholicism and Roman Christianity. And if you have any involvement in it, so are you, and you're supporting of it. How do we know the good reptiles from the bad ones? I think I just covered that. Is the moon hollow in a spaceship? They say it's hollow. They say it's a spaceship. I don't know, ladies and gentlemen. I don't have the answer to that, but I know that we need to continue to ask the questions. We need to continue to ask the questions. Is the moon made out of cheese? It doesn't look like cheese. And it certainly looks like moldy, bad cheese. So if it is made of cheese, I don't want to eat it, ladies and gentlemen. I really don't. I really don't. So there you go, folks. Matrix, reptilians, aliens, religion, it all meets at the moon. 12,500 years ago, satanic, reptilian, fear and guilt, blood-based control matrix religion in the form of Abrahamic religion started here on Earth. They worship the moon. They look to the moon for all of their feasts and their times. Is there a connection? Is there a connection? Well, that's up to you to decide. All I know is that we are the last generation of real humans. And all I know is that winners write history. And all I know is that if we get together and get busy, we can win this thing and write the history of a race that realized they were divine, sovereign, and free, broke out of the fear and guilt control matrix, kicked ass, took names, and created a world of peace that passes all understanding, and life more abundant on the ashes of a blood-based fear and guilt control matrix that was vanquished by the forces of light. Hoorah! For the Gospel Truth Army. Gospel means good news. And if you're preaching fear and guilt, you're not preaching good news. I'm Jeffrey Daugherty, the Christian Whistleblower. Who's with me?